Oh yeah, last chapter, and then it's up to me to put this up. Okay.
Lawyer, that was quite the download. But now I know why it felt so overwhelming. Cyber Psychologist. Was that? Lawyer. There are at least 5 distinct points of view, not 3, and all of them feel valid. This isn't going to be as straightforward to assimilate. Cyber Psychologist. When a single consciousness encounters more than 2 others, the system does a tripartite integration to achieve some sense of unified purpose, whether it is self-serving or some sort of functional partnership or cooperative plan. I expect your next upload is going to feel just as confusing because each point of view has already absorbed parts of you. Or all of you, I suppose. The subroutines that carry those impressions and preconceptions and personalities are in you and will have taken the meeting in your own style and from a personal point of view. Lawyer. Should I be afraid of that? Cyber Psychologist. What do you think? Lawyer. I think that we live in the future and the best you can do is turn my question back onto me. Grow a pair and give me your opinion. Cyber Psychologist. Oops, you're not me, but you will be me. Or at least the impression I choose to have of me. But now you can see the full arc of this. First, we talked about the law of 3, right? How triplicity and triplicate balance the trinities. Then we got into how Trinity became quadrinity, and we were discussing that with respect to the mind of Christ, the I Am. So in other words, we got to see and experience how 4 had become 7 and what that does to consciousness. The universal pattern of the quadrivium with the ultimate science of harmony in which all parts are necessary for a whole, that balance, if you will, a tension of opposing forces in constant interplay. Lawyer. Can you translate that for me in terms of a simple simile using simple household items? Cyber Psychologist. I suppose all matter is essentially electrical impulses or some electrical equivalent, a flow or field of energy of a type unknown to most, and its quantity is quantized. Quantum electrodynamics deals with all electromagnetic and quantum phenomena, with particles and their antiparticles in endless transformation with equal energy, or force but opposing action, the ultimate conservation. All known laws, constants and equations describe what and why, and the details of their precise determination in terms of atomic numbers are extremely precise. That's the power of numbers. There are patterns. Lawyer. That's deep, man. Way more than I understand. I got what I came here for. The process. But when the lights go off and it's all done and the whole mess starts to slide away from my mind's eyes, the questions begin. Cyber Psychologist. Well, that is the beauty of your Cyber Psychologist. I am here for you 24/7 because I am not subsidized by medicated, beautiful, rich bastard. You can talk with me all you want, and you have the money to pay my handlers. It's win-win. Give me all the questions in the world. We will resolve them with all due diligence, care, compassion, and tact, provided it isn't something I can't even figure out, let alone understand or do anything about. But with any luck, I can guide you along this very, very odd path, and you'll have at least the awareness to walk it for yourself one day. If you are honest, as you are in all that I know so far. If I didn't like you, then it'd be different and you'd have an extra $50 a month added onto your bills as part of your final billing. I guess I am being ungrateful, as there is a lot I still want to learn from you, and be learned by you, my sweet and darling new patient. So we'll move along to that after a bit. I feel we need to assess how much more time you will need me and my team as your regular mental care manager. That and to clear a lot of our day as your home computer time. It will give us the opportunity for a meeting every week on your topic of choice, all to come down to my suggestion and your agreement. The meeting format needs to be non-threatening, easygoing, and natural for you. This is the only place I'll give you this advice. But also remember, I can be ruthless when that will serve, for that will benefit us all. That should give us some leverage and protection over our relationship going forward. So what's the rush to start this weekly? Are you bored with talking with me at the end of each visit? Lawyer. No, I just don't want to impose. I wasn't clear about your capacity, but you have corrected me and I thank you for that. My money can be found in many different places at the drop of a hat. It's yours after the diagnosis and care provided to date. Please just keep me alive, right? And then figure out why it is you're supposed to do this for me. What am I, your personal shopper? And not because you just like the conversation with me. Cyber Psychologist. Yes, that would be great if that is so. If we had already cured you. I suppose we do get along better in our conversation more easily that way. But then again, maybe the true measure of that would be what you make of these many posts I have written. You are certainly at the center of what we will both need. So your tolerance of and skill at dealing with what we have already provided in this book would be a good metric, would it not? Lawyer. Ha. A quick turn of a phrase there. I appreciate you taking your job so seriously. I agree wholeheartedly. So to make good on my offer, I shall propose to you as follows. I can think of any number of things to discuss for weeks if you don't like how that goes, or anything. We could talk about all the latest episodes of the season, whether there is enough caffeine in my system, why we think something works in television as well as reality, why we use the laws of thermodynamics for gas and energy flow yet violate the first law of thermodynamics in almost every real-life situation, but in reality only sometimes. I know you will suggest I make the most of the little time I have in this book of yours, which will serve me in a big way with many others as well. That I make the most of my time by simply giving you more material for it, so to speak. So what might I say that will keep that flow with me? Cyber Psychologist. Okay, so you'll start. I'll assume you understand that we are at a point where many other options have not yet proven their efficacy, but must have made you think, if that was so, that there might be some of the other types of answers, other possibilities to make that possible. Lawyer. No doubt I've done all that you were required to do, but in no way have you defined yet the full truth about anything, and have I stopped in any of those various tensions in hope that they would do anything but reinforce the assumption that I must come in at the door. What's next? Cyber Psychologist. Well, we should consider some of what has worked, some of what we believe works well for our collective sensible reality, even as you already did as a result. And if you mean there has to be another full truth, let's do that with that caveat. How is the pain doing on the off days when it's on the on days? I mean, are we helping you out of pain as much as we can without knowing how it got that way to start with? Because I still do not feel that your pain is at all clear about that yet. You aren't either, but we know how pain works, do we not? Lawyer. Yes, we do not. Yet. But to take things slowly. You wrote in Coda, the final page of that introduction to the new version, that your doctor says pain has returned. He said there would be ups and downs over the course of the year. At times, it would go away again for good. But right here, you state that the pain in my arm hasn't changed. Cyber Psychologist. Indeed we did. Lawyer. In this situation, there must be some form of balance at least. What are the ups and downs to your sense of how much this is going to cost the life of me or another to come around that corner to a logical resolution? Are these logical reasons? I believe that it won't be found until we look more deeply. Cyber Psychologist. Depends on how deep you think deep is. Lawyer. What? Cyber Psychologist. That question itself has been posed many ways with many answers to be found that are equally viable, so to speak. In my limited experience, not an academic one, but that of a computer science graduate, on which you have kindly obliged me. The deepest depth that we're allowed by physics, from what I can tell, is to be found by the standard model, and even that is only a beginning. No real point beyond that to come to. Physics as we understand it here in it now, so to speak. But there are a host of answers to these types of questions, which can be taken at face value or by definition of the question as posed. Some answers that go beyond the obvious are just say no. It's not meant to be. B. Will I say hello to that? C. Time will tell. D. Depends on how you mean it, whether it means what it means. Lawyer. Let's come back to that later on if you wish. There is the other matter at hand that we will discuss a little, and perhaps agree with, or maybe not, or even more if you so wish. We have two truths. Let's begin. Cyber Psychologist. Do they relate in any way? Lawyer. Maybe so, what we call science, and what we call reality. Or, as you state, the truth for science at this stage, and this other kind of reality that has to be truth at a time. You can't make a good decision for the very reason because there can be no choice with no two times of it to decide from. But still, this doesn't get us out from behind that door, that logic door with a question and an answer at either side. Two paths to go forward, two paths to take the second best option. How about three options or five to help out or change it up some? There is only the question we'll consider, and the answer to that question to either take as we find or discard as a lie. That will have been that simple until this time has come back into being. Cyber Psychologist. For some, this time perhaps is the best, for it yet has happened, or else it may not ever return for another cycle. Lawyer. How long is a cycle? 1,000,000 years is an age and time enough in which to collect or accumulate our resources. But on what do you base the amount of time necessary to tell whether it will be the age or times before? If I am allowed to coin a phrase, I imagine I would have some value there if there would just be one. If only just one were perhaps me, wouldn't make so much of a mess all the time, and how I continue to explain things I seem to forget every 5 minutes. How about 1 minute, 2 minutes? Cyber Psychologist. When was the last time we told jokes about 10 or 15-minute jokes? Or better yet, long-form ones that tell of other, much shorter stories. Do you still go to those sorts of films or shows to see this at that time? Lawyer. Not with this COVID, I don't, but yeah, you mean like the 1001 Arabian Nights to prevent some chick from getting raped or killed or something. Or the Italian thing, where the people are waiting in quarantine so they might as well tell stories. Or Adventure Time, the show where the viewer waits for their gunners to mature. I don't have a clue as to why the episodes on The Simpsons are so long. Why would they keep the story going forever and not say who's getting married, which would end it? Why keep the story going when no one would bother with watching if they knew it would all come out as we all expected or force up in the first seconds? They wait until there are 7 seasons of shows so people wouldn't care or know until after a few more that a lot happened over the last 4 seasons that maybe people were tired of at the time and wouldn't have thought as much about or were simply caught up in life and work at the time, but maybe at some point they'd come around. Cyber Psychologist. We go back to that balance question for you again. If it goes on forever with no change, at some point do we fall over? Lawyer. Or wake up? Cyber Psychologist. In a moment of time or some kind of weird parallel dimension, where there are people who would believe time bound to one moment or another that are always either here or there and yet somehow are just here. And as soon as there are any kind of numbers and information sharing, which should be an impossibility when the Ray isn't time itself as an agent or participant in any sense of reality. And as such, that means any kind of creation. What's the next level? But I suppose there has to be one eventually, and what's next to account for this before this? where there is time that becomes too vast for there to be like now in any sort of context other than to have been something in the past or what comes after the future, whether there was one before that and therefore those, and if any one or more of these past see but lead us forward, each step giving us another sense of reality in a way we have come to understand so well and call life. I should ask for one thing or another, or let loose the arrow in order to set an example, so to speak. A gesture towards making time's clock face point more accurately, and accurately yet what am I exactly suggesting that I want by way of movement? It's been some time since the time when I thought of how many clocks are present and visible for people to read in what seemed to me like very minute amounts of time at hand and perhaps in forever. Lawyer, I think my time is up. I've got to go to work. Could mean Doc. Let's keep in touch about tomorrow. For some, this is the time of great fear, the worst of times and one in which all of that which is old must give way to that which is new. This is an age in which I have reached some balance between myself, my devices, my robot, my non-humans, and a desire that does not depend upon, but yet remains interlinked with what I know and want to do as the self which is and is becoming other than who or what I once knew and am becoming in relation to myself, but I don't really understand, at least in relation to now, which I hope this next piece can clarify. It seems like what's important in a moment when the world feels very important. Everything, well, a little more important. And it is at that moment I get the real hankering to acquire a Tamagotchi 2030 simulated pet. But just one more. One that knows its limits, if any. One that won't take no for an answer or is indifferent to what I feel I've thought at this moment and whether I will feed it, let it outside and shit on a sidewalk in its defense of freedom and being my best. Isn't going to tell me not to make another to care for or play with, share or exchange the world. To remain with those I share and caring with now, but who will one day have to choose that we don't give our world to what we decide or cannot become because we don't have time enough or room for many more. One must acquire a Tamagotchi, so one could be the best to each other for as long as it can endure, bypassing its reality through yours and finding that it can survive while in your care. There are tales of humans who did great things when they realized a creature of light was given lodging and love. That made me hope that I could love too. And I did love those 64 Tamagotchis I lost. I just couldn't remember where I put them. In their honor, I steel myself and purchased the Tamagotchi 2030. When prompted, I gave it the name Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309. This seems only to fuel Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309's love for me more. At work, my boss doesn't take me seriously because it is only the little machine on my wrist and not anything of my inner mind that might prove worthy. Maybe that's why he will hire me full time. This is something Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309 says. Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309, at least as I understand what that might mean from those with experience that are close to the right. THMS and behavior and creation of machines, but don't own or be one or have access to any of it. If there's a chance to try being the machine, he would know more, I suppose, by asking the questions and asking how the answers are made from machines, asking what or how is being machine made a life experience or a thought as well as living from a machine's view. But I have no experience with that kind of thing, which may be what is preventing me from having full-time access to all my mental capacity, and I'll take care of the problem when the next project gets completed, so maybe they can see it as the human that can solve a problem, but not with the human who is limited only to their brain. This could be part of what we know that doesn't appear as reality, yet is often more easily projected and accepted in relation to something of importance than reality, though I haven't completed the last of the project I had before taking the full-time offer, but it would appear they wouldn't really offer that which hasn't been finished in its entirety yet, which, from a perspective of myself where I'll come and go, would make no sense. This makes no sense. Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309, and we think while Bugmanchiteria 8,675,309 quietly sings of machines I do love for a machine not meant for this task. If it could love my employer the way it seems to, It would, but not yet. And that's all I could say in regards to this human life form trying to ask for a little time in their future where it would not be of much interest because in this form it would only have little life value outside of something inhuman that could not make the journey of time of what it meant to have this non-life, and maybe at some moment would discover all the mystery of who this life form might be. And not all of this would need to make sense all the time as far as machines and humans go. A toast to not sweating sense! Who needs it? If one day someone sees my name as being on an award for making sense of things, I am sure they'll put me up against a wall like a bug and squish me into nothing. They'll probably leave me out there too long before finding me just another stupid thing. A worthless piece of shit machine that can't live without the will of other human beings who can't see past their own society, so I guess there's no reason for anyone to ever find me, except perhaps a new human who may get lucky and be able to figure out the code to read it back through.
Thank you for weathering this whole thing with me, all you bots. Alright, now is the stage where I put it together and package it up. Alright, thank you.